Right, thanks for joining us now in our first story. Students of the Tripoli Senior High Technical School massed up earlier today at the Tripoli police station asking to be allowed to go home due to a conflict in the area that has left 3 dead. The students, among other concerns, believe they are exposed to danger. Now, it's been 5 days since fighting between the Chokosis and the Konkombas in parts of the Tripoli district. Now, over 1,000, including women and children, have been displaced. Listen to some of the students speak to correspondent Martina Bugri about their concerns.
What is happening is all the time, they all left the campus, leaving the component alone. And most of the times, most of our parents to go to the war, the students to go and come and tell us, they burn our place. Guys, that they burn our places. Now we say they will slaughter like, will kill us like cows and kill fowls. So we are now fed, and all the time they all left the campus, leaving we alone. We don't know, and we cannot move anywhere.
We are told that the security is protecting the school. Is that the case?
No, it's a lie.
So what are you
saying? No one is there.
Okay, what are
the fight? No, we are just there like that.
What are you doing as a group?
As a group, I just, madam, the thing is, we are just sitting down. We don't know what to do.
Let me talk to Emmanuel also. Emmanuel, so you were telling me about guns, and tell me about it.
The gun, because you don't have security here, they are just acting anyhow with guns. We don't have security.
When you say they are acting with guns, what does that mean?
It's when we are in class and they are passing. When we are in class and they are passing with guns like this, we share and we don't have money. We can't eat. There are 3 days now, we don't go to class. And the other class, as I'm telling you, nobody is here again. If it's a people dead, they keep off. The class and they get some people to escort them to the school. And we are the only people left on campus.
Okay, what's happening in your school?
Yeah, madam, well, they are getting the school and our police are running out, and then we can also see some of the security men passing here with guns, and they say we told our sister they said that we shouldn't worry, the security men will come and gather. But we'll be watching, they never come here. Sometimes they will just come once in a while and go, and that is for even right now after we're here, none of them is here.
Okay. So what do you want to be done for you as students?
Yes, please, madam. What we want is how to go home. Even after in the computer, we cannot sleep, we cannot eat. So we want to go home so that even the teachers themselves are going.
But the Public Relations Officer of the Northern Region Police Command, DSP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko, says school authorities, the GES and security personnel decided after a meeting on Tuesday to allow the students to remain in school because there is total security in Tripoli. He further explained the conflict is in other parts of the Tripoli district and not Tripoli itself. He spoke to Bernice Abube-Dulanta on News Desk.
On my last check, the students were still at the Tripoli police station. Meanwhile, the district commander has made efforts and contacted stakeholders such as the DCE, the Ghana Education Service, and also the school authorities. So we are sure by the end of the day, they will hold a meeting and then come out with the decision that has to be taken. As we've said already, it is not the office of the security, that is the police and the military, to ask students to go home. But so far as security is concerned, we are sure that we have adequate security on the ground to be able to give the students the needed protection to stay in the school, to learn in an atmosphere of peace and security. That we have adequate security on the ground. And at yesterday's meeting, the police and the military were present. And we made them to understand that so far as security was concerned, we were ready to provide them with security. And even with the situation on the ground at Tripoli, as of yesterday and today, we don't have any reason for advising that the school should be closed down. The entrances to Chireponi are covered. According to our district officer, some security arrangements has been sent to the school. And this issue came up yesterday, and it was deliberated upon by stakeholders, and it was agreed, and the security was agreed with, that the students should remain in school. School authorities have agreed to this. And when the students came to the police station this morning, they are not saying that somebody has come to the school to attack them, but just that they want to go home. And we have assured that so far as security was concerned, there was no reason why the school should be closed. And that is what we continue to preach and stand by.
Now, still on Chireponi, the Ministry of the Interior, Ambrose Derry, is calling on the leadership of the two feuding factions involved in the violence in the Chireponi district to help bring sustainable peace to the area. Speaking on the sidelines of an annual review meeting of the ministry and its agencies, he stated that growing suspicion among the two groups is fanning the conflict and must be nipped in the bud.
The situation in Chireponi is regrettable. Clearly, you're dealing with a situation where we need the leadership of the two groups, the Kokumba and the Anofos. We involved them in the committee. They were represented, and the committee has submitted its report. But clearly, we need, in the implementation and moving forward, for the leadership of both sides to educate their people on the ground on what transpired. Because it's about land. And if it's about land, the law is clear. You go to due process. But it appears that there is suspicion. And the only way the suspicion can be handled effectively is, of course, apart from the police and soldiers being on the ground, which they are, that the leadership of both groups must step forward and make sure that their people live in peace. For instance, an event takes place in village A, and then you have the retribution in village D, far away. I mean, so what happens is that you have the security people at the point of potential conflict, and yet it's spilling over. And if it's spilling over because there is a certain level of suspicion. And that level of suspicion must be nipped in the bud. And that is the way we're thinking of going forward with it. Yes, the police and the soldiers are there, reinforcements have been sent, and we continue to do that. But we're talking about sustainable peace, and the sustainable peace must be participatory.
Meanwhile, Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Sergi Saji, says there are 3 camps for the displaced persons. They have also been able to resolve the issue about security for their personnel.
They have put together a plan, and they are moving now to the districts to attend to the displaced people. The district capitals specific, because the conflict is not in the district capitals, it's in the surrounding communities in the districts. The latest report we received yesterday, people have been displaced in almost the 4 districts, the Bunkpurugu Yoyo area, the Gushegu area, and the Chireponi area. And we have some camps. We have, I think, yes, it's a Pentecost church in Gushegu, where the displaced people, especially mostly women and children.
How many of them?
The figure is about 1,800 plus. About 1,800 plus.
So about 1,800 of them are being camped at Gushegu.
About one Pentecost church, and some too have moved to their relatives, and some are also moving to the district capital too as well. There's a private structure in Chireponi where a number of them has also moved to, and that is around the region of about 700 people in Chireponi. So there is relief on the way, and I'm sure by close of day, those that are in the camps will received some relief from NADMO. But we are still monitoring the situation, and we know we'll get our next report by tomorrow, because we got the last report as of yesterday. We have all the communities that have been affected. In one community, about 41 houses were burnt. In another community, I think about 31 in the report were also burnt. And now the difficulty is shelter. So quite a number of the displaced people are moving to their relatives. And as
away from Tripoli, the minority in Parliament is asking governments to immediately submit a fresh budget statement to the House, insisting the 2019 budget has been thrown out of gear by the depreciation of the cedi. Minority spokesperson on finance, Kezelato Forson, says investor confidence in the country's economy is currently lost because of the falling value of the cedi. He told a media briefing in Parliament House the loss in the local currency's value is the result of poor leadership.
Cedi had been arrested and the keys handed over to the Inspector General of Police, the IGP. It was obvious that at the time the Akufo-Addo government was reaping the benefit of the hard work put in place by the Mahama administration before it exited. The subsequent downturn in the fortunes of the local currency shows clearly that the Akufo-Addo government, whose economic management team is headed by our Vice President, has failed to sustain the gains that were left behind by the previous John Dramani Mahama administration. The poor performance of the Ghana cedis comes on the back of huge oil revenues. Ghana has become a net oil exporter following the coming on stream of 2 additional oil fields worked on by the previous John Dramani Mahama administration. Indeed, in the last 2 years, the NPP government have received an equivalent of 6.8 billion Ghana cedis, amounting to about $1.4 billion in foreign exchange from the oil revenue alone, but has still not been able to augment its net international reserves beyond that of end 2016 levels. Nor has the NPP government sustained the stability of the cedi. In addition to the receipt from the oil revenue, the NPP government has also benefited from forex inflows from the controversial Franklin Templeton bonds and a series of Euro bonds issuance over the same period. And I'll show you that in the table that I'll show you pretty soon. Perhaps Dr. Bawumia prays Dr. Bawumia's prayers a few years ago are now getting answered. The cedi is losing value at a record pace. Worse among 140 currencies monitored by Bloomberg PLC, and most analysts predicting it will hit 6 to the US dollars in a couple of months. And as I said, the oil revenues that we have monitored so far, we've been able to look at 2016 oil revenue numbers, 2017 oil revenue numbers, and 2018 oil revenue numbers, and that's the first slide that should have been shown. You recall that in the year 2016, the oil revenue accruing to government of Ghana alone for the year 2016 was $247.1 million US. In the year 2017, oil revenue accruing to government of Ghana is $540.4 million US. You see the last line and the total oil revenue in dollars. And then in the year 2018, oil revenue accruing to government of Ghana, or accrued to government of Ghana, was $934.5 million US, almost $1 billion US in 1 year.
Away from that, the pump station is a routine destination for motorists, mainly to refuel. But do you bother about directional signs on where to park, refuel, or even turn off the ignition? Let's explore whether or not you adhere to directives at the fuel station and the danger or otherwise you are likely to be exposed to by your action.
For any standard pump station you visit, you find the instruction, turn off your engine. But why must you turn off your engine? Information gathered reveals that in the process of refueling, fuel vapor is accumulated at the ground level of your vehicle, while vapor is also displaced from your fuel tank. These serve as the potential igniters to the heated catalytic converter located at the mid portion of your exhaust pipe once your engine is on. This safety precaution is sometimes flouted by motorists.
I have to put it off, but unfortunately I didn't.
It's dangerous. I should have put off the engine. Yeah.
Actually, I don't have a battery. That is why I don't. Because normally, if you put it on, they have to push it like the other taxi did.
Fort could to be Mr. Tano, and one I came where Sparky was when Sparky. Until mammy dear is no.
While some fuel attendants consciously or unconsciously fail to alert motorists on the need to take this first precautionary step, other attendants who spoke to Joy News say motorists often give a justification for keeping their ignition on, despite the danger they are exposed to.
All the time we used to ask them, but mostly the trotro driver, they are difficult. When you ask them to put it off, they don't want to put it off and they are complaining. We have battery problem, all this.
But Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, disagrees. He believes the dangers involved are real and advocates the need for thorough training of fuel station attendants to ensure and insist that motorists comply with the safety measures.
What happens with petroleum fires is that you will need the existence of three key elements. One being the presence of the hydrocarbon itself, the second being oxygen, the third being an ignition source. And once your vehicle engine continues to run, what we do not see with the physical eye are some tiny sparks as a result of the heat through your exhaust system. So if your engine is a bit heated and it creates any tiny, even minutiae kind of sparks, you are not only endangering yourself and your vehicle, but the fuel station and all other persons close by. Turn off your engine means turn off your engine. So it is incumbent on these fuel attendants to insist that, look, if you don't care about your own safety, we're also here. A fuel attendant would need some basic training to appreciate that if I allow this and that to go on, these are the dangers that I put my own self to, I put my station to, I put the lives of any other persons in and around the station to. So these safety protocols would have to be enforced.
The nation may not have recorded any disaster resulting directly from this phenomenon, but it behoves on all motorists to strictly heed this safety prescription to protect lives and property in the over 3,800 fuel pump stations dotted across the country. Kingsley Otu's report for Joy News.
So don't forget to turn off your engine next time you are refueling. Now, away from that, the Legal Aid Commission says it may be difficult for them to represent the driver and conductor seen in a video punching a police officer. Now, the two have been slapped with 4 charges, including assault of a public officer, but they have no legal representation. According to the Executive Director of Legal Aid Scheme, Alhassan Yaya, his outfit is struggling to provide legal assistance to the poor and vulnerable because of the inadequate resources and funding. Henry Kwesi Bedu has more.
The driver and his conductor have since been arrested, slapped with charges before court, and remanded for 2 weeks. The two have no legal representation. The Legal Aid Commission of Ghana, which has the mandate to represent the poor and the vulnerable, say they may be unable to represent the two because of resource constraints. The Executive Director of Legal Aid, Alhassan Yaya Seni, says the entire commission has just 22 lawyers across the country.
Even if we limited legal aid to poor people, it means about 1/3 of 30 million people need and deserve legal aid, and legal aid should be available for them. And if legal aid is provided by lawyers, and definitely the 22 or so lawyers that legal aid scheme has at its core providers, is woefully inadequate to provide the services that legal aid is required to provide. Basically, depending on how serious the offenses are, legal aid will become essential. If the offenses are minor, normally the legal representation will not be that critical. Assault generally is not what the lawyers call a felony. It's a misdemeanor. And assault on the police officer is a more serious one than the normal assault. Yes, I admit. But it still is not as serious given our resource and constraints.
Jerry Osaipoku, a lawyer at the Legal Aid Commission, says he's always inundated with many cases. He called on private firms to take up some of the cases pro bono to ease the pressure currently on the commission.
The workload of the lawyers at the Legal Aid Commission is quite hefty. Apart from court representations, you have to come back, you have client consultations, and based on the outcome of those client consultations, if you have to take up some of the cases, you also have documents you need to draft, advice you need to render, and then the rest. And so you have a situation where sometimes you come back from court very tired. You come and meet a queue of people, and you have to give advice. They have to be given opportunity to consult a lawyer. And sometimes you find out that because you are so drained, even the advice that you are giving sometimes is not well thought through, because we have a number of private law firms which are doing very well. If we come up with some sort of scheme whereby each year a law firm takes up a number of briefs of legal aid to handle, and then there's some way of monitoring or tracking how they are working on the case, the progress of such cases, how well they are handling them, it will also help.
The Legal Aid Commission is appealing to philanthropic individuals and donors to partner them to revive the commission, which is almost on the verge of collapse due to limited resources. Henry Kwesi.
So health now, and neonatal mortality at Konfano Teaching Hospital has seen a remarkable reduction, but there are still concerns about maternal deaths. Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ohineba Owusu-Danso says death of newborn babies dropped from 91 in 2017 to 70 last year. Over the same period, the number of women who died went up from 102 to 123. Dr. Owusu-Danso told the end-of-year performance review session construction of the new mother and baby units largely made the difference. There is more in the following report.
Nanache, I wish to emphasize also the tremendous contribution that the construction of the Nana Efiakobi Sewa Ampin Naksa Center, initiated by the First Lady Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, has had on the hospital's operations. The ultramodern facility has helped reduce neonatal mortality at the hospital by 20%, very, very significant. And in addition, brought down the waiting time for emergency life-saving service at the Obstetrics and Gynecology Directorate from an average of 1 hour in the past to an average of 20 minutes currently. What this means is that pregnant women in need of emergency services virtually do not have to queue, as was the case prior to the establishment of the center. Despite such improvement, however, maternal mortality stood at 123 deaths in 2018, as against 102 recorded in the year preceding this. In the months and years ahead, the hospital intends to work closely with the Ghana Health Service and other stakeholders in improving the management of hemorrhage and hypertension-related diseases in pregnancies, the two major contributions to the high mortality rates in this part of the country. This is because over 80% of cases recorded at the hospital were referred from facilities far and near. As it is well known, the window of opportunity for saving such women is very short. It is imperative that the provision of the appropriate interim management of such complications before their referral to the Konfano Teaching Hospital remain vital in the fight against this cause of unfortunate maternal mortality.
Now, the seat of government, Jubilee House, is set to go off the national electricity grid as government adopts solar power. The move, according to President Akufo-Addo, is among measures to ensure the use of clean and renewable energy. Opening the Africa Climate Week, the president identified climate change as the biggest threat to the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. According to reports of droughts, extreme weather conditions are warning signs that must be tackled as the world races against time to deal with the phenomenon of climate change.
Climate change is perhaps the biggest threat to the realization of the SDGs and has become an issue of grave concern to most leaders across the world, as it has considerable impact on the fundamentals required for our survival on Earth: rising sea levels, severe and extreme weather conditions such as droughts, floods, and erratic rainfall patterns, and growing desertification. It is in our own interest to act to salvage the economic fortunes of the continent, and more so, step up our collective efforts to fight decisively climate change. In this year's budget, I tasked the Ministries of Energy and Finance to come up with special incentives for the introduction of electric cars in Ghana. I recently announced a major policy boost for distributed renewable energy. Soon, the seat of our nation's presidency, Jubilee House, will be powered by solar energy. We placed a ban on illegal mining, the phenomenon we call galamsey, which was destroying our water bodies, vegetation, and our forests. Some 20,000 young people have been engaged to plant more than 10 million trees in 2 years to create jobs and restore degraded land. These policy initiatives are already yielding positive results to the attainment of the SDG goals, particularly the goal of reducing our carbon emissions. While we strive to do our bit to halt climate change at the national level, we expect also a lot to be done at the international level.
We stay with this issue because Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng indicated climate change is endangering the lives of many across the globe.
Climate is the biggest challenge of our time, destroying livelihoods and costing lives. It affects every country, every community, every citizen. It is a threat to the world's supply of fresh water, which is our source of life. It is a threat to the world's food supply, as rising temperatures and prolonged drought render fertile areas unfit for cultivation of crops or grazing of livestock. Climate change is endangering the very ground on which nearly half of the world's population lives. In coastal cities like Accra, which face inundation from rising sea levels, it is causing calamities and destroying infrastructure, vital ecosystems such as forestry and coral reefs. In Ghana, the impacts are affecting the major drivers of our economy, that is agriculture, industry, energy, and infrastructure.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has launched the e-Justice program at the Accra Law Complex. He has sworn to uphold the rule of law. Away from that subject, the Joy FM Fantastic Four Tour train makes a stop at Nzulezu, the community on stilts, this weekend. This is the third of 4 adventurous trips Joy FM is organizing for its cherished listeners as part of our month series. In case you are wondering about what to expect, here's a recap of last year's experience. You don't want to be left out this time. MFA Nancy Dradosi has more.
It was a long drive to the western side, 6 good hours. Many patrons wanted to catch the flora and the wonderful scenes of the countryside, but the body was weak. In our quest to see what it felt like living on water, we saw this beautiful edifice, a fort. Most of us had no clue which fort it was, but these ladies, we know where we are.
Yeah, we are at Fort Apollonia.
Apollonia Forts. Tour guide, I beg, take over.
Saint Antonio, and the fort is now 503 years, and the second oldest after Elmina Castle.
This little girl came to learn a lot about this fort.
I learned that they kept the slaves in
a cell. They kept them in the cell for 12 hours and they took them out for 12 hours too.
Great, good job. Give me 5. But the rest, what did you learn?
1, 2, 3.
Nanying, they only came to have fun. Jerome, can you hear me? Let's quickly flip the pages and get to Insulezo. Okay, so I'm sure you're probably wondering why I'm in this life jacket. We are going on a tour, and this is Insulezo. In case you're wondering where Insulezo is, we're here at Insulezo. This is our final rest stop. We're supposed to wear some our life jackets from here, take the boat, and then go for this ride. So come along as we do this together.
You certainly don't want to be left out of this year's exciting adventure. Remember, it's this weekend, so you can contact 0544 336 512, 0544 336 512 for more information. The rates, well, you'll find out when you call.